Hello, shining stars. Who remembers where we were in our story? Anybody remember? Well, it was getting quite exciting. Despero had just spoken to the king, and he told the king that he knows where the Princess P is. Do you remember where the Princess P is? That's right, she's in the dungeon, or at least that's what Despero thinks. So he was going to go to the dungeon and look for the Threadmaster to see if he could find Despero. No, I'm sorry, to see if he could find the Princess P. So let's find out what happens in chapter 42, The Rest of the Thread. The Threadmaster was sitting atop his spool of thread, swinging his tail back and forth and eating a piece of celery. "Well, look here," he said when he saw Despero. "Would you just look at that? It's the mouse who loved a human princess, back from the dungeon in one piece. The old Threadmaster would say he didn't do his job well. That's because you're still alive. I must have tied that thread too incorrectly, but it's not so. I know how to do my work. Do you know how I know I tied it correctly? Because it's still around your neck." He nodded and took a bite of his celery. "I need the rest of it," said Despero. "The rest of what? Your neck?" "The rest of the thread," said Despero. "Well, I can't just hand it over to any old mouse," said the Threadmaster. "They say red thread is special, sacred. Though I myself haven't spent too much time with it, I know it for what it truly is." "And what is it?" asked Despero. "Thread," said the Threadmaster. He shrugged and took another loud bite of celery. "Nothing more, nothing less. But I pretend, friend. I pretend. And what, may I ask, do you intend to do with the thread?" "Save the princess." "Ah, yes, the princess. The beautiful princess. That's how this whole story started, isn't it?" "I have to save her. There's no one but me to do it." "Well, it seems to be that way with most things now, isn't it? No one to do the really disagreeable jobs except oneself. And how, exactly, will you use a spool of thread to save a princess?" "Well, a rat has taken her and hidden her in the dungeon. So I have to go back to the dungeon, and it is full of twists and turns and hidden chambers." "Like a maze," said the Threadmaster. "Yes, like a maze. And I have to find my way to her wherever she's hidden, and then I have to lead her back out again. And the only way to do that is with the thread." Gregory the jailer tied a rope around his ankle so that he would not get lost. As the mouse said this, he shuddered, thinking of Gregory and the broken rope, dying, lost in the darkness. "I," said Despero, "I will use thread." The Threadmaster nodded. I see," he said. He took a meditative bite of celery. "You, friend, are on a quest." "Well, I don't know what a quest is," said Despero. "You don't have to know. You just have to feel compelled to do the thing, the impossible, the important task at hand." "Impossible?" said Despero. "Impossible," said the Threadmaster, "but important." He sat, chewing his celery and staring somewhere past Despero, and then suddenly he leapt off his spool. "Who am I to stand in the way of a quest?" he said. "Roll her away." "I can have it?" said Despero. "Yes, for your quest." Despero put his front paws up and touched the spool. He gave it an experimental push forward. "Thank you," he said, looking into the eye of the Threadmaster. "But I don't know your name." "Hovis." "Thank you, Hovis." "There's something else, something that belongs with the thread." Hovis went into a corner and came back with a needle. "You can use this for protection." "Like a sword," said Despero. "Like a sword would have." "Yes," said Hovis. He gnawed off a length of thread and used it to tie the needle around Despero's waist, like so. "Thank you, Hovis," said Despero. He put his right shoulder against the spool of thread and pushed it forward again. "Wait," said Hovis. He stood up on his hind legs and put his paws on Despero's shoulders, and he leaned in close to him. Despero smelled the sharp, clean scent of celery as the threadmaster bent his head, took hold of the thread around Despero's neck in his sharp teeth, and pulled on it hard. "There," said Hovis, when the thread broke free and dropped to the ground. "Now you're free. You see, you're not going into the dungeon because you have to. You're going because you choose to." "Yes," said Despero, "because I am on a quest." The word felt good and right in his mouth. Quest. Say it, reader. Say the word quest out loud. Can you say it? Quest. It is an extraordinary word, isn't it? So small and yet so full of wonder, so full of hope. "Goodbye," said Hovis, as Despero pushed the spool of thread out from under the threadmaster's hole. "I have never known a mouse who has made it out of the dungeon, only to go back in again. Goodbye, friend. Goodbye, mouse among mice." There's a picture. There's a picture. Hovis is the big guy, and Despero's the little guy, and he's got the needle tied around his waist that he can use like a sword, because now he's going to be the knight in shining armor. Let's see if he saves the princess. We'll find out next time, maybe. Bye, shining stars.